Chapter 81. A major event at the Heaven and Earth Bank. A contract was placed in front of Long Mishu. The contract was covered with neatly written words, which left a deep impression on Long Mishu's eyes. Every word is like a knife. They cut her heart into many pieces. As Long Mishu looked at it, her breathing became erratic. Her thoughts and reasoning were disrupted by Xiandao's contract. The contract stated that Qiandi Qianzhuang would help Long Mishu become the first female emperor of the Wanlong Empire and permanently secure her position. But what Long Mishu needs to give up is his own soul. She wanted to give her soul to Xiandao, and from then on, her life and death would be in Xiandao's hands. Furthermore, the Wanlong Empire will become the stronghold of the Heaven and Earth Bank, and based on the Wanlong Empire, it will expand to the 9 heavens and 10 earths. As long as Long Mishu is obedient, she will always be the empress. She can make most decisions, but of course, matters involving the Heaven and Earth Bank need to be reported. This contract is very clear, very explicit, and very cruel. It was so cruel that Long Mishu had difficulty breathing. How could she agree to that? She gave her soul to Xiandao and the Heaven and Earth Money House, so that if they went back on their word, she could be killed without a burial place in an instant. Xiandao tapped the table and said, "The Heaven and Earth Bank has existed in the world for a very, very long time. Over countless years, countless events and countless people have entered here and signed contracts. We operate according to the contract. As long as you follow the contract, everything will be fine." Xiandao is trying to soothe Long Mishu's heart, but she still couldn't sign. There was a pen next to the contract, sitting there quietly. It's just an ordinary pen. But in Long Mishu's eyes, there was nothing in the world harder to lift than it. Picking up this pen and writing your name is like handing over your life. Long Mishu took a deep breath, his body and mind trembling. Xiandao smiled gently and said, "Perhaps you can also leave this place, return to where you were, forget everything here, and treat it as a dream in which you saw me and the fairy." Long Mishu looked up and saw Xiandao's insightful eyes, and his body trembled. Go back. Go back to where you started. Isn't that confronting her foolish younger brother? She's still injured. If she goes back, she'll either die or be forced to take that mind-altering drug. Can I change some conditions? Long Mishu asked. Xiandao coldly shook his head, stood up and said, 10 minutes. Think it over carefully. If you don't sign in 10 minutes, then leave. Xiandao and Shao Qi vanished from the hall, leaving only Long Mishu alone. She stood up, her whole being in a state of turmoil, her aura surging, her hair flying wildly without wind, her expression shifting between anger and uncertainty, her eyes fixed intently on the contract. Outside the Heaven and Earth money shop, Xiandao and Shao Qi stood admiring the scenery. The distant mountains and valleys should have been a beautiful sight, but unfortunately, they were covered by thick fog. Shao Qi had previously told Xiandao that this place used to be the property of Qiandi Qianzhuang, a huge enterprise, but now it has all been mortgaged. Xiandao needs to work hard, earn more, and redeem these things. You want to control the Wanlong Empire? Shao Qi asked. Xiandao nodded and said, because the Heaven and Earth Bank has mortgaged too many things, it no longer has the ability to travel between the various worlds. If we don't build a large teleportation array, we won't be able to leave the Great Li land in a short time. Shao Qi nodded. This is a very cruel question. They were confined to a great distance off the ground. Previously, the Heaven and Earth Bank could move freely throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths, even to the immortal realm, going wherever it pleased and leaving whenever it wanted. However, as large mountains were mortgaged one after another, the Heaven and Earth Bank lost this ability and became trapped in the Great Li land, like being stuck in a quagmire, unable to extricate itself. That's why Xiandao wanted to use the Wanlong Empire to collect blueprints for a world-class teleportation array. Even if the blueprints for a world-class teleportation array cannot be found, controlling the Wanlong Empire would also allow for external expansion or the search for blueprints. This is Xiandao's method of escape. After listening, Shao Qi nodded in satisfaction and praised, "You are now a qualified master." I have always been a qualified master. Li Xiandao said proudly, his hands behind his back as he looked at the surging sea of clouds. Xiao Qi covered her mouth and smiled faintly, without saying a word, and looked at the vast sea of clouds with Li Xiandao. As for whether Long Mishu would actually sign or not, Li Xiandao and Xiao Qi weren't worried at all. Once desires are unleashed, they can be terrifying. You're trying to put it back and go back to being yourself, but that's absolutely impossible. Long Mishu will definitely sign a contract. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, Li Xiandao and Xiao Qi returned to the hall, where Long Mishu had already signed the papers. Long Mishu was conflicted before signing, but she calmed down after signing. How can you help me? Long Mishu asked, voicing his doubts. Have you ever heard of something called a world-class teleportation array? Li Xiandao asked. Long Mishu frowned and said, I think I've heard of it, but it requires a lot of materials. Li Xiandao's lips curled up. Sure enough, he had guessed correctly. There must be news about a world-class teleportation array in the desolate ancient land. I will first send a few people with you into the desolate land to find the world-class teleportation array and build it, Li Xiandao said in a deep voice. Why build this? There's a teleportation array we can use, Long Mishu asked, puzzled. Besides, although I am a royal daughter, I am not valued, have few resources, and cannot be developed. Long Mishu looked at Li Xiandao solemnly, believing that Li Xiandao was deceiving her. No problem. You just need to find the blueprints for the world-class teleportation array, and my people will take care of the rest. Once the teleportation array is built, I will personally cross over to help you eliminate all enemies, Li Xiandao said confidently. When he crosses over into another field and makes his move, it will be a disaster for that group of people. Long Mishu's eyes lit up, as if he had seen a glimmer of hope, and he said, Okay, I will do it. Li Xiandao smiled with satisfaction, clapped his hands and said, Come on, all of you. Swish, swish, swish. Battle Angel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, White Emperor Tian Guangming, Heavenly Heart Monk, Nine-Tailed Celestial Fox Wu Sienna. These are all of Li Xiandao's current subordinates, and he has dispatched them all this time. This is a matter of great importance. If a world-class teleportation array can be built, then Li Xiandao can cross realms and bring the Heaven and Earth Bank into the desolate ancient land, where the Heaven and Earth Bank can be developed to a greater extent. When you follow Long Mishu into the desolate ancient land, the first thing you must do is find the blueprints for the world teleportation array, and then build it so that I can bring the Heaven and Earth Bank across realms. If you encounter any trouble along the way, take the lead from Monk Tianqin. If you cannot make a decision, then come and ask me, Li Xiandao instructed. The group immediately and solemnly agreed. Long Mishu is one of us now. You will go out with her later and help her resolve her troubles, Li Xiandao said in a deep voice. This will be a major event for Chendi Chenjuang in the near future. Several people agreed. Li Xiandao then looked at Long Mishu, intending to collect his belongings. Come here, offer up your soul. Li Xiandao beckoned to Long Mishu. Chapter 82 Imprisoning Long Chuan. Li Xiandao extracted Long Mishu's soul fire, which is a person's origin. Once the soul fire is broken, the life fire will gradually wither, weaken, and die. Looking at the soul fire that had been extracted from him, Long Mishu felt empty, as if something important was missing. She watched as Li Xiandao placed the soul fire in a jade box. Put this in the warehouse and keep it safe. As long as Long Mishu doesn't violate the contract, don't take it out, Li Xiandao said calmly. Xiao Qi nodded obediently, took the jade box, and left. Long Mishu felt a little more at ease. As long as she didn't break the contract, everything would be fine. You may leave now, enter the battlefield of heaven and earth, and then head to the desolate ancient land, Li Xiandao instructed. Monk Tianqin nodded and said, I guarantee I will complete the mission. He is the most powerful person here, and he has a calm and composed personality. Although he has the appearance of a Buddha, a devil lives in his heart. Li Xiandao waved his sleeve, sweeping them all away. Battlefield between heaven and earth. Long Baichuan and his men had been guarding the area for 100 miles, and the 30-odd men had searched the surrounding area, but they still couldn't find Long Mishu. Long Baichuan was initially angry, furious, and uneasy. Now he is filled with panic and silence. He knew very well how deep his older sister's mind was and how ruthless she was. Despite being his younger brother, this same brother had just tried to force Long Mishu to drink a potion of infatuation. Long Baichuan's eyes hardened, and he said, "Stand guard here. I refuse to believe that she can really leave without a sound. If we can't defeat Long Mishu now, once we return to the Wanlong Empire in the desolate ancient land, he will surely face very cruel treatment." The 30 assassins remained silent, guarding the spot. Long Baichuan couldn't understand it at all. What is that blood-red pocket watch? How can someone be completely wiped out? The plan was originally foolproof. Even if they fell into the Crown Prince's trap, as long as he captured Long Mishu, it wouldn't be a loss. But now they've fallen into the Crown Prince's trap, failed to capture Long Mishu, suffered heavy losses, and are caught in the middle. Long Baichuan was so frustrated he felt like he was going to vomit blood. Just as Long Baichuan was feeling down, several figures appeared where Long Mishu had disappeared. Long Mishu, Battle Angel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, White Emperor Tian Guangming, Heavenly Heart Monk, Nine-Tailed Heavenly Fox Wu Sienna. Long Baichuan jumped up immediately and, without saying a word, waved his hand. "Take them down!" The 30 assassins moved instantly, like hunting beasts, launching a fierce attack. Long Mishu's face turned ugly as he said, "This is my younger brother, Long Baichuan. He wants to control me." Archangel Gabriel stepped forward and said, "Let me handle this. 30 Heavenly Origin Realm assassins are nothing to worry about." Archangel Gabriel had long since reached the realm of a saint. After merging with the angels of the divine race, he had been making continuous progress. He was the second most skilled person in this group, only after the monk Tianxin. At that moment, Gabriel made his move, and a long sword appeared. The blade was snow-white and decorated with patterns on the edge, making it very beautiful. This is Gabriel's magical artifact. Angelic Sword Technique. Gabriel's body flashed like a white light, instantly soaring through the air. With the immortal artifact in hand, he was invincible. Any defense was utterly vulnerable in the face of the immortal artifact. Rumble. A sword aura swept across all directions, and Gabriel's body returned to its original position. In less than a second, the 30 assassins stopped in their tracks. Long Baichuan was startled and roared, "What are you doing? Why aren't you making a move?" Gabriel put away his magical artifact, and as he walked, his armor gleamed with a resounding clang. "Stop shouting, they're all dead." Bang bang bang. As Gabriel finished speaking, all 30 assassins fell to the ground. Upon closer inspection, it would be found that the sword wounds on all 30 corpses were the same size and depth. Long Baichuan stood there, stunned, swallowing hard, as if he had seen a monster. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" Long Baichuan asked in fear. "My foolish little brother." Long Mishu smiled elegantly and confidently as he walked over slowly. "Long Mishu, where did you go?" Long Baichuan asked in disbelief. "Poor child, you really thought you had it all figured out. Your sister was just caught off guard and that's how you got the upper hand. But if I say you're no good, then you'll never be good enough. With such meager skills, you think you can compete for the throne." Long Mishu sneered. "Long Mishu, let me tell you, the great beauty Holy Land stands behind me," Long Baichuan shouted. "So what if it's a sacred and beautiful place? You must have come here on your own. What do you think the consequences would be if I killed you here?" Long Mishu chuckled and hooked Long Baichuan's chin with her slender fingers, elegant yet fierce. Long Baichuan trembled with fear and said, "Sister, you are my own sister, you can't kill me." "Now you know I'm your biological sister, huh?" Long Mishu's eyes were terrifyingly cold. "I was wrong, I was really wrong. If you don't care about our sibling relationship, at least think about our mother. You know she cherishes me like a treasure, her only hope for survival. If I die, she will be heartbroken. Long Baichuan knelt down with a thud, begging for mercy. With snot and tears streaming down his face, he perfectly exemplified what it means to weep bitterly. Yes, mother loves you the most, and father loves all of you royal sons the most. Even if I have great abilities, I cannot use them because I am not a man. Long Mishu said through gritted teeth. She utterly despised the idea of favoring sons over daughters. She had no choice but to endure it before, but now she wants to rebel and break free from this ingrained mindset. Don't worry, I won't kill you, Long Mishu said calmly. Really? Long Baichuan looked at his sister with surprise. Of course, I won't kill you, but I'll imprison you for life. From now on, you'd better stay by my side. If you dare to run away, I'll kill you, Long Mishu said coldly. You want to put me under house arrest? Long Baichuan said angrily. Do you want me to kill you right now, or keep you under house arrest indefinitely? Long Mishu stared coldly at Long Baichuan. Choose one, and I'll grant your wish. Long Mishu's words were more biting than the cold wind. Long Baichuan shuddered, not daring to look at his sister's chilling gaze, and muttered, I still prefer to be with my sister. Long Mishu snorted coldly and said, I mean what I say. If you dare to leave the area I've designated for you in the future, the first time I'll break your legs, the second time I'll cripple your cultivation, and the third time you'll be a dead man. Long Baichuan dared not speak out against his anger, outwardly listening but secretly ignoring it. Once we return to the desolate lands and the Wanlong Empire, will you, an unloved daughter, be able to control me, a prince? Long Mishu looked at Long Baichuan coldly. She had given Long Baichuan a chance, and if he didn't cherish it, then for the sake of her dream of becoming empress, she could ask Long Baichuan to die. Chapter 83 The Desolate Ancient Land. The Desolate Ancient Land is one of the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The Desolate Ancient Land is different from the Greatly Land. Even among the 10 lands, the Desolate Ancient Land can rank among the top 5. It is a truly great world. After imprisoning Long Baichuan, Long Mishu took him directly back to the Desolate Ancient Land. Battle Angel Michael and the others followed her, taking the teleportation array into the Desolate Land. In the Desolate Ancient Lands, there are only a handful of top-tier powers. The Wanlong Empire occupies a large, extremely wealthy portion of the world, making it the undisputed #1 power. The Nato dynasty is the second largest power formed by the alliance of the 7 kingdoms to oppose the Wanlong Empire. The remaining overseas islands, major sects, families, and academies are all under the jurisdiction of these 2 powers. Of course, many of them outwardly submitted to the 2 major powers, but inwardly they were autonomous, paying no taxes, no tributes, and no rebellions. As the princess and prince of the Wanlong Empire, Long Mishu and Long Baichuan attracted much attention upon their return. They did not linger there, but instead left the remote teleportation hall and headed straight for the capital of the Wanlong Empire. Along the way, Long Baichuan's cultivation was suppressed by Long Mishu, who kept him by her side. Whenever he dared to leave her sight, he would be beaten severely, leaving Long Baichuan with psychological trauma and making him afraid to leave his sister's sight again. Night. A bonfire was burning, and several people were gathered around it. Long Mishu, Wuxin Monk, Michael, Gabriel, Tian Guangming, and Wu Xian gathered together. Not far from them, in a carriage, Long Baichuan lay listlessly, a single tear streaming down his face. Then came countless tears, sorrow flowing like a river. But no one paid him any attention. Now we've arrived at the desolate ancient land, Long Mixu. Where is the world-class teleportation array? Monk Wuxin asked. Long Mishu thought for a moment and said, I've heard people say that there is, but I don't know the specifics. However, once we get to Shangjing, someone will definitely know. Shangjing, the capital of the Wanlong Empire, is a megacity of tens of millions of people. It is extremely luxurious and filled with the abilities of cultivators. We must obtain the blueprints for the world-class teleportation array as soon as possible. Only then will we know what materials and treasures we need to collect. Once the teleportation array is established, the master will bring the heavenly treasury across realms, and your dream of becoming an empress will be easily realized. Monk Wuxin reminded Long Mishu not to be lazy or try to shirk her duties. Long Mishu nodded and said, "I've already given away my soul fire, so I'll definitely go all out. We're all in the same boat, and your master is also my master. I will fight with all my might." "That's good," Monk Wuxin said with satisfaction. "How many days will it take us to enter Shangjing?" Tian Guangming asked. "At our current pace, we should be able to enter Shangjing within 10 days. Then we can ask my acquaintances for information," Long Mishu said. "Then, Wu Xian'er and Tian Guangming will follow you. One will be your maid, and the other will be your guard. Although Tian Guangming's cultivation is not very good, his temperament is more than enough to make him a guard." Monk Tianxin assigned the task. Wu Xian'er had no objection. She was beautiful and charming, and sat obediently to the side. She simply nodded when she heard this. Tian Guangming, however, stared at Monk Tianxin with a deathly gaze. "What nonsense are you spouting, you bald monk?" Tian Guangming cursed inwardly. "You are weak, your cultivation is not very good, and your temperament is more suitable for being a guard. What, do you have a problem with this?" Monk Tianxin noticed that Tian Guangming was staring at him with an odd look in his eyes, and immediately asked, "No, I'll do whatever the leader says." Tian Guangming said with a forced smile. "Okay, he's very weak. Here, perhaps the only one who can defeat him is Wu Xian'er. But how old is Wu Xian'er? If you give Wu Xian'er 2 months, Tian Guangming will be no match for her. Moreover, as time goes by, Tian Guangming will never be able to defeat him in his lifetime." Thinking this way, Tian Guangming became anxious. Unbeknownst to him, he had become the weakest person under Li Xiandao. If things continue like this, he will be eliminated. "No, I must find a way to change this situation. I, Tian Guangming, am the White Emperor. I will definitely be able to look down on the world." Tian Guangming vowed in his heart. "But how do we do it?" Tian Guangming was completely confused. Ignoring Tian Guangming, Monk Tianxin continued, "We will remain in the shadows and stand by. If we encounter any problems that we cannot handle, we will step in. But remember, everything should be done with the world-class teleportation array as the primary means." Everyone nodded. This was Li Xiandao's order, and no one dared to disobey it. After all, everyone's lives depend on Li Xiandao's decision. If they don't do their job properly and anger Li Xiandao, the consequences will be dire. Over the next few days, the group headed towards Shangjing at a moderate pace, maintaining a steady speed. On the way, news of Long Baichuan and Long Mi's return spread to the ears of those who cared. Some people found it strange that this brother and sister, who should have been wreaking havoc on the battlefield, were now sitting together peacefully on their way back. Harmony. Long Baichuan wanted to spit on these people a few times. Have you ever seen Harmony, who threatens to break legs at any time? Have you ever seen a Harmony that seals off one's cultivation? Have you ever seen Harmony where people get a good beating as soon as they're out of sight? Are you blind? Unfortunately, no one knew the suffering Long Baichuan had endured. Everyone thought that the siblings had truly reconciled and returned from the battlefield together. Shangjing, a magnificent mansion, covering an area of 10 miles, with artificial hills, small lakes, bamboo forests, and everything else, truly a luxurious residence. Inside this mansion, a young man is admiring the moon while listening to reports from his intelligence operatives. "So, that good-for-nothing Long Baichuan didn't kill his intelligent sister," the young man sneered. "I told you long ago, Long Mishu is a very clever woman with a deep mind. It's just that she's a woman. If she were a man, she would definitely be the crown prince's biggest rival," said a scholar. "After all, she supports me. Isn't this a bit like crossing the river and burning the bridge?" the eldest prince asked casually. It was he who had someone tell Long Mishu that he was going to the battlefield of heaven and earth to break through, which caused the siblings to turn against each other and kill each other. Now he's asking if it's too cruel, which is just crocodile tears. No, the first prince is eliminating trouble. The seventh prince is not very smart, lacking both courage and strategy. He is no match for you. Letting him deal with Long Mishu will put your mind at ease, the scholar said with a smile. Since it's not excessive, let's go a little harder. Have the siblings made up now? The eldest prince asked in surprise. It seems so. According to our scouts, Long Mishu and Long Baichuan live and eat together in the same carriage. They've never been apart and their relationship is incredibly close, the scholar reported. Good relationship. The eldest prince gave a cold laugh. Is there affection among members of the royal family? It's just a smokescreen. Right now, one of Long Mishu and Long Baichuan is definitely suffering. But this is exactly what I expected. Tell my men not to let them return to Shangjing. I hate those siblings. Chapter 84 Shangjing. For several days in a row, Long Mishu and his group were on the move. Because the teleportation array leading to the battlefield of heaven and earth is too far from Shangjing, the people of the Wanlong Empire can rest assured that no one will suddenly attack Shangjing from the battlefield of heaven and earth. This made it quite a while for Long Mishu and the others to travel. Fortunately, after 9 days, they were only a few hundred miles away from Shangjing. For them, hundreds of miles is just a quarter of an hour. Especially for sages, a single step can make 100 miles of land disappear beneath their feet. However, they did not continue forward. Instead, they stopped. In the dead of night, another bonfire blazes. Everyone gathered together again, discussing something. Once again, Long Baichuan lay alone in the carriage, gazing sadly at the sky. He shed no more tears. These past few days, he has cried all his tears. Long Baichuan feels like a grieving woman who has been imprisoned and is crying out to heaven and earth in vain. Fortunately, we're almost at Shangjing. You just wait. When we get to Shangjing, I will cooperate with the first prince and go to him for refuge. I will not let you go. Long Baichuan hated his sister Long Mishu and the group led by monk Tianxin to the core. Just bear with it a little longer. We'll be free soon. Once we get to Shangjing, I'll make you pay, Long Baichuan thought fiercely. But nobody took him seriously. Monk Tianxin looked around and said with a smile, "This is our first time entering Shangjing, and someone has come to congratulate us in the middle of the night. This humble monk cannot accept such a gift." Long Mishu's expression changed, and he said, "It must have been sent by the first prince. Princess and seventh prince, you shouldn't have come back. We've come to see you off." A sinister voice rang out, surging in from all directions, its origins unclear. Long Mishu's face was grim. But Monk Tianxin shook his head and said, "What kind of hero are you, sneaking around like this and hiding in the shadows? Gabriel, go and invite them out." Archangel Gabriel stood up, walked over expressionlessly, and headed in one direction. Then he drew his sword and slashed out. A dazzling white light burst forth in the dark wilderness, illuminating the surrounding area. In that instant, a dozen people with considerable cultivation watched in fear, frozen in that moment. When the white light disappeared, Archangel Gabriel walked back expressionlessly, sat in his seat, and roasted a chicken wing. Thump, thump, thump. More than a dozen corpses fell one after another. Another blow, and they were all killed. Long Mishu stared blankly, his mind numb. Just how powerful was this person? Could it be a great sage? It should be noted that the first prince has quite a few people under his command, who are at the peak of the heavenly origin realm. Even the person who just spoke was at the first level of the lesser saint realm. But against Gabriel, he couldn't withstand even one move. What's even more outrageous is that Gabriel, who is so powerful, still has to listen to the monk Tianxin. Just how strong is this bold monk? Long Mishu couldn't help but ask. Monk Tianxin sighed softly. "I also want to ask who sent them. You killed them all. Could you please go easy on them next time?" Gabriel stared at his chicken wings and said, "I've already been very gentle. You call this light? Monk Tianxin pointed. The dozen or so corpses hidden in the darkness were still fresh. They were too weak. I was already controlling myself and using very light blows, Gabriel said, sounding a little aggrieved. How can you blame him? He suppressed most of his power, casually unleashed a sword strike, and none of them could withstand it. He died. What does this have to do with him? Seeing this, Long Mishu stopped them from arguing and said, It's obvious without asking that they are the Crown Prince's men. The person who spoke just now is one of the Crown Prince's leaders, a Saint Realm expert. Insulting a saint, Gabriel said expressionlessly. Monk Tianxin nodded. To be honest, that's true. They were both saints. Seeing such a weak saint, I'm speechless. Tian Guangming watched the two of them singing in unison and cursed inwardly. Two perverts. Long Baichuan, who was in the carriage, also cursed. Two perverts. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight shone down, Long Mishu took out his royal token and smoothly entered the city gate of Shangjing. The vast city of Shangjing covered a huge area and was divided into several districts. Inner city, middle city, outer city, suburbs. There are 3 to 4 million characters in the inner city, and they are all high-ranking officials of the Wanlong Empire, including the Emperor's palace and the residences of Long Mishu and Long Baichuan. Long Mishu's residence wasn't exactly shabby, but compared to Long Baichuan's princely residence, it was truly shabby. The group looked at Long Mishu's residence, speechless, and then went to Long Baichuan's residence instead. This is my residence. If you go to my sister's residence, I promise I will stay home and reflect on my mistakes, and I will not leave the house. Long Baichuan tried to struggle. Snap. Long Mishu was in a bad mood and slapped Long Baichuan, making him shudder. If you disagree, you disagree. Why hit him? Long Baichuan said, his eyes filled with tears and his voice full of grievance. If you keep having these thoughts, next time it won't just be a slap. This is the first warning, Long Mishu said coldly. Long Baichuan immediately shut his mouth and dared not say a word. Everyone, take a break for now. Keep an eye on Long Baichuan for me. I'm going out to meet some friends and gather some information, Long Mishu said to Monk Tianxin. No problem, go ahead. Do you need someone to come with you? We'll stay here and guard Long Baichuan, Monk Tianxin asked. No need. My friend doesn't like strangers. She's well informed and will definitely know. Wait for my good news. Long Mishu refused. Monk Tianxin did not insist, watched Long Mishu leave, and then looked at Long Baichuan. The kind look in his eyes startled Long Baichuan, who said directly, I'll go to my room and reflect on my mistakes. Bring me in my meals 3 times a day, and I won't go out. Monk Tianxin nodded and said, That would be best. In Shangjing, at the first prince's residence, the first prince, his face grim, asked, Are they all dead? Yes, they're all dead. A single sword to the throat, it was terrifying, the subordinate reported. When did Long Mishu get such a powerful expert by his side? The first prince frowned, his face filled with anger. Your Highness, what should we do now? The subordinate asked. Collect all the bodies and give them a proper burial. As for the people Long Mishu brought back, I need to investigate them. Don't act rashly without careful consideration. We'll treat them well once we've investigated thoroughly. The first prince's eyes were icy. Yes, sir. I will go and investigate immediately. The subordinate immediately tried to leave. Wait a minute. Investigate why Long Mishu went out as soon as she returned. She must have changed. Before, Long Mishu was nothing to fear, but now, I don't like anything being out of my control, the first prince said with a gloomy expression. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly. The first prince waved his sleeve and said coldly. Chapter 85 The Founding of the Demonic Sect. Shangjing. In a densely populated area, there is a magnificent pavilion. This is a place that specializes in selling classified information. The owner is a woman, who is Long Mishu's best friend. In the attic, a woman with a heroic appearance greeted Long Mishu. Didn't you say you were going to the battlefield of heaven and earth to break through to the Saint Realm? The woman asked. Don't say any more. I'm lucky to be back this time. Sister Min, I have something to ask you for help with, Long Mishu said kindly. We sisters have a very good relationship. If there's anything you need, just let me know, and I'll definitely tell you what I know, Sister Min said with a smile. Long Mishu asked, Sister Min, do you know where there is a map of a world-class teleportation array in the desolate ancient land? Sister Min frowned, thinking silently, and said, the array diagram of a world-class teleportation array isn't a necessity. Only top-tier sects would build one so that their people can easily cross realms without having to avoid being struck by world lightning. Why are you asking about this? Long Mishu chuckled lightly. I want to get the array diagram of this world-class teleportation array. Sister Min looked at Long Mishu, knowing she didn't want to talk about it, and didn't press her for details. She said, the array diagram of a world-class teleportation array is very precious, but ordinary people don't really need it. Even the Wanlong Empire wanted it but couldn't get it. The biggest problem is that the array diagram of a world-class teleportation array is in the hands of the demonic sect. Long Mishu frowned, looking troubled. In the hands of the demonic sect? Yes, all 18 sects of the ancient wilderness demonic path are at odds with the Myriad Dragon's empire and are colluding with the NATO dynasty beyond the Great Wall. One of them is called the Kaiyuan demonic sect, which possesses the array diagram of a world-class teleportation array. You can imagine how difficult it will be for them, Sister Min explained in detail. The Kaiyuan demonic sect isn't considered very powerful among the 18 demonic sects, Long Mishu remembered. They're not very powerful, maybe even at the bottom, but they're still one of the 18 sects of the demonic path. They have a peak heavenly saint in their sect, so they're not easy to mess with, Sister Min said seriously. Peak of the heavenly saint realm. This is not the third level of a lesser sage, nor is it the initial stage of a great sage. It is the true peak of the third level of a great sage. Saints are divided into 3 levels. Lesser saints, entering the void, exiting the void, and great void. The great sage has 5 levels. Yin sage, Yong sage, heavenly sage, earthly sage, and Tao sage. The young sage still absorbed the great Tao of heaven and earth into his body, radiating the brilliance of the Tao. The great sage manipulates the Tao between heaven and earth, forming a domain, and within that domain, he is his own god. The great sage has 5 levels, and the difference between each level is like heaven and earth. Even in the Myriad Dragon's empire, a third-level celestial saint is considered a formidable fighting force. That's why Sister Min warned Long Mishu not to provoke him easily. But Long Mishu had no choice but to do it. He took a deep breath. What did it matter if he was a heavenly saint? Compared to his master's vast supernatural powers, a heavenly saint was nothing. Sister Min, give me a map showing the location of the Kaiyuan demonic sect, along with their heavenly saint-specific information and the diagram of the world-class teleportation array. I'm determined to get it, Long Mishu said firmly. Seeing Long Mishu's resolute face, Sister Min sighed helplessly. You don't have any experts under your command, how are you going to deal with them? Long Mishu smiled and said, I have some news for Sister Min. I am not alone now. I also have experts by my side. Archangel Gabriel and Monk Tianxin are definitely experts, but it's unclear what level they belong to. Sister Min said irritably, even if there are experts, you should know that this time we are going to the territory of the NATO dynasty. Even if you get it, you can't bring it out. Long Mishu gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, we have to try. If the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array cannot be brought back, then the master will be unable to cross over to this realm, and her dream of becoming an empress will be shattered. As Long Mishu thought about it, he was filled with resentment. She must obtain the blueprint for a world-class teleportation array and build it up, so that when its powerful master crosses over, all enemies can be wiped out. Alright, I don't know why you're so insistent, but if you bring back the blueprint for the world-class teleportation array, bring it back and present it to your father, your status will be a little better then, Sister Min said helplessly. She instructed her subordinates to prepare information about the Kaiyuan demonic sect, and even the NATO dynasty and the 18 demonic sects. Before long, his men arrived, bringing a large amount of information and materials. Consider this my support as your older sister. Be careful in everything you do, and when things become hopeless, be prepared to give up, Sister Min advised. Long Mishu said gratefully, "Thank you very much, Sister Min. I will never forget your kindness." "All right, we've known each other for over 10 years. Why are you saying such formal things?" Sister Min said, displeased. "It was my fault. Please don't blame me, Sister Min." Long Mishu immediately grabbed Sister Min's wrist in a coquettish manner, smiling sweetly. "You are so competitive. If you were a man, that would be the best," Sister Min said with emotion. Long Mishu didn't speak, but nestled in Min Jie's arms, her eyes sparkling. "Now I'm actually glad I'm a woman. When I become an empress and overpower all men, that will be my greatest achievement." Long Mishu's desires grew wildly. Long Baichuan's residence was visited by Long Mishu, who returned with a wealth of information. A group of people are studying something in the hall. The NATO dynasty is a coalition of 7 countries. These 7 countries have secretly lobbied the 18 demonic sects to form the largest force against the Myriad Dragon Empire, Long Mishu explained. Among them, the bottom-ranked Kaiyuan demonic sect is the owner of the array diagram for a world-class teleportation array. The sect is located within the Great Xia dynasty, and it has a peak heavenly saint expert in charge. They are not to be trifled with, Long Mishu said solemnly. Monk Tianxin said, "Then all we need to do is go to the Great Xia dynasty, attack the Kaiyuan demon sect, and obtain the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array." Long Mishu glanced at Monk Tianxin and said irritably, "It's easy to say, but the Kaiyuan demonic sect has a heavenly saint realm expert. That's the 3rd level of a great saint, who controls infinite heavenly power." "Is he very strong?" Monk Tianxin asked, looking at Gabriel. "It's all right," Gabriel thought for a moment and answered seriously. The others stared at the 2 arrogant individuals, speechless. "Since you put it that way, then the 2 of you should leave the city tonight, head to the Great Xia dynasty, wipe out the Kaiyuan demonic sect, obtain the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array, and incidentally bring back the Kaiyuan demonic sect's treasury," Long Mishu immediately said. "No problem. We need to bring their treasury back. After all, they've had the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array for so many years, they must be collecting some materials, which can help us." Monk Tianxin nodded. "Take the map and let's go." Long Mishu took out the map and handed it to Monk Tianxin. At the Heaven and Earth Bank, Li Xiandao and Shao Qi were watching this scene. Because the Heaven and Earth Bank cannot cross boundaries, Li Xiandao and Shao Qi often observe them. Li Xiandao was quite satisfied to see that they had found the world-class teleportation array map so quickly. By the way, who was the person who borrowed the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array from us back then? Li Xiandao asked Shao Qi. Chapter 86. It's incredibly powerful. Shao Qi took out a contract and handed it to Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao opened it and found the person who had lent him the money. Tianyuan. A thin, middle-aged man with gloomy eyes and a face as black as water. He didn't look like a good person. "Is this the heavenly saint of the Kaiyuan demonic sect?" Li Xiandao asked. "It must be him. If it weren't him, the diagram of the world-class teleportation array wouldn't have fallen into his hands." Shao Qi nodded. He borrowed the diagram of a world-class teleportation array, and the only price he paid was to help us build a world-class teleportation array? Li Xiandao asked in surprise. "Yes, that's why he broke the contract." Shao Qi nodded. "There's no penalty for breach of contract?" Li Xiandao frowned deeply as he looked through the contract, clearly dissatisfied. A contract that doesn't specify the penalties for breach of contract is simply dishonest. Shao Qi looked at Li Xiandao helplessly, not even wanting to say a word. Li Xiandao sighed helplessly, his eyes darkening, and said, "Notify Monk Tianxin to kill this Tianyuan for me." We borrowed the world-class teleportation array diagram from the Heaven and Earth Bank, and we didn't impose any penalties for breach of contract on you. Yet you're still not satisfied and have breached the contract? Xiandao deeply despised such dishonest people and felt that killing them would be the only way to quell his anger. Shaoqi nodded and said, I understand. In the desolate land, Monk Tianxin and Grand Judge Gabriel left Shengjing overnight and headed straight for the Great Xia dynasty beyond the Great Wall. Both were saints with remarkable cultivation, so their travel speed could only be described as lightning fast, covering 10,000 miles in a day. On the road, the monk Tianxin, who was speeding along, suddenly stopped. What's wrong? Gabriel asked. The master just sent a message, Monk Tianxin said solemnly. What did the master say? Gabriel asked immediately. Our master said we must kill Tian Sheng of the Kaiyuan demonic sect, said Monk Tianxin. All right. Gabriel didn't say anything more or ask why. Since Xiandao said to kill, then he would do it. It was just something I did on the spur of the moment, so killing him is no big deal, Monk Tianxin said indifferently. Then let's go. Gabriel soared into the sky, his 6 pairs of enormous wings carrying him at breakneck speed. Lotus flowers bloom beneath the feet of the monk Tianxin. With each step, 100 miles of land vanish. As for that heavenly saint, neither of them took him seriously. 3 days later, the two arrived in the northern desert beyond the Great Wall. The Great Xia dynasty was founded on the mythical dragonbird and possesses a divine artifact, the Great Xia dragonbird, a fierce and deadly blade. Therefore, the Great Xia dynasty was able to establish itself in the borderlands and continue to thrive. Within the Great Xia dynasty, most of the people were nomadic peoples. The grasslands were their lifeblood, and with the continuous mountains in the north serving as a barrier and a shield for the Wanlong Empire, they were quite safe. The Kaiyuan demonic sect is located in these rolling mountains. Following the map provided by Long Mishu, Monk Tianxin and Gabriel arrived at the Great River Mountains. The Great River mountain range is enormous. From a distance, it looks like a winding river cascading down from the Tian Shan Mountains, blocking communication between the Great Xia dynasty and the Wanlong Empire. The mountains are majestic, with towering peaks, some winding and twisting, some strangely shaped, and some like giant swords piercing the sky. The Kaiyuan demonic sect is located on Five Finger Mountain, where 5 enormous peaks are clustered together. From a distance, they are easily distinguishable, resembling a human hand. Monk Tianxin and Gabriel stood at the foot of the mountain, looking into the distance, and exchanged a glance. Are we just going to come knocking on their door like this? Gabriel asked the monk Tianxin. Too much trouble. Monk Tianxin shook his head. ? Gabriel looked at Monk Tianxin with a puzzled expression. Please bring him out. Monk Tianxin stretched out a hand and clapped it in front of him. Rumble. Above Wuji Mountain, a giant Buddha's hand appeared out of thin air, shining with golden light, as if it were about to save all living beings. The enormous Buddha's hand pressed down on the rolling clouds with tremendous force, a scene resembling the end of the world, which terrified the people of the Kaiyuan demon sect. Who dares to run wild in my Kaiyuan demonic sect? An elder who had just entered the lesser saint realm roared. It flew out directly, its body surging with demonic energy, transforming into a giant demonic blade. Cut. The elder of the Kaiyuan demonic sect wanted to cut off the Buddha's hand so that it wouldn't destroy Five Finger Mountain. But Buddha's hand merely flicked his finger at this enormous demonic blade. Click. The demonic blade, which had gathered endless demonic energy, broke apart in an instant, splitting into countless pieces that dissipated into the air. Puff. The elder, who was at the lesser saint level, suffered a severe blow to his internal organs, coughed up blood, and fell to the ground, smashing many houses in the process. Between heaven and earth, the Buddha's hand remained unchanged, and after shattering the demonic blade, it pressed down without hesitation. Humph. You're also at the heavenly saint realm, yet you dare to cause trouble in my Kaiyuan demonic sect? A cold snort rang out, followed by a black lotus blooming in the air and crashing into the Buddha's hand. Rumble. The black lotus and the Buddha's hand were evenly matched, creating an immense and overwhelming force in the air, which then dissipated in all directions. A strong wind swept through, unsettling everyone's hearts. Tian Yuan, bring out the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array, or we will attack your Kaiyuan demon sect. Monk Tianxin's voice rang out. Tian Yuan was startled, realizing something, and exclaimed, "It's you! You still remember us?" Monk Tianxin's voice was slightly cold. "Didn't you disappear?" Tian Yuan said bitterly, a sense of panic beginning to creep into his heart. "We're back now. You have 10 seconds. If you don't come out, we're coming in." As soon as he finished speaking, the Buddha's hand exploded, turning into clusters of Buddha's light that swept away Tian Yuan's black lotus. Thump. Tian Yuan's expression changed, and he said in shock, "This is not the method of the heavenly saint. If it's not Tian Shang, then it means that no one in the Kaiyuan demonic sect can stop them." He looked into the distance and gritted his teeth, saying, "I'll hold them off. You all go and report to the Great Xia dynasty that the people from the Wanlong Empire have invaded and want to seize the array diagram of our world-class teleportation array." The disciple standing nearby immediately noted it down and quickly sent a telepathic message. Tian Yuan took a deep breath. He wanted to stall for time and fly over slowly. At the foot of the mountain, Monk Tianxin and Gabriel stood calmly. "Leave this to me. You go to the Kaiyuan demon sect and take away their entire treasury. Don't leave them a single thing," said Monk Tianxin. Gabriel immediately took off, completely obeying orders. Whether or not Monk Tianxin can win is not something he should worry about. Gabriel was walking inside, while Tian Yuan was walking outside. The two did not see each other. When Yuan came out that day, he saw that only Monk Tianxin was there. His heart skipped a beat, and he asked, "Where is your companion? Just now, Monk Tianxin was talking about us. But now he's all alone." Tian Yuan immediately thought of his sect. He turned his head and felt uneasy, so he wanted to fly back. Thump. However, a powerful pressure, like a mountain range, pressed down, making it impossible for Tian Yuan to breathe or move. You actually have such cultivation." Tian Yuan looked at Monk Tianxin in horror. He, a great sage at the 3rd level, was so suppressed that he seemed about to vomit blood and was unable to move. This is absolutely terrifying. Chapter 87: The Realm of Saints. Monk Tianxin was walking slowly, far away from Tian Yuan. He was walking very slowly, but the invisible pressure made Tian Yuan cough incessantly. Cough, cough. This is actually... Tian Yuan looked at Monk Tianxin in shock. Domain. He uttered the word with great difficulty. The Realm of Saints. The final step in the realm of sainthood, the realm that can only be created by reaching the level of Dao Saint. How could Tian Yuan not be shocked? The monk before me was actually a great sage at the 5th level, a Dao Saint realm. Only a Dao Saint, and only a domain, could suppress him to the point of being unable to move and having difficulty breathing. "Can you return the world-class teleportation array diagram that you borrowed from my Heaven and Earth Bank now?" Monk Tianxin asked calmly. This was the first time he had fully displayed his abilities. The 5th level of the Great Sage, the Dao Sage realm. Xiandao had previously stated that Monk Tianxin was one of the top 3 masters in the Greatly Land, and that was absolutely true. That's even a bit modest. If we exclude Xiandao, Monk Tianxin would easily be ranked first. To be able to cultivate to the 5th level of a great sage in such a remote place as Dolly is an extremely incredible thing. After all, even a minor saint is considered an ancestor in the Greatly Land, and there are very few major saints, let alone a major saint in the 5th level of the birth realm. Tian Yuan trembled as he said, "I'll give it to you, and you can let me go. I'll give you the diagram of the world-class teleportation array." Monk Tianxin shook his head and said, "A monk does not lie. I cannot deceive you, but I must take your life." Tian Yuan exclaimed in shock and anger, "If monks don't lie, then they also don't kill living beings." "I'm very sorry, but I'm no longer a monk," said Monk Tianxin with a sigh. Tian Yuan stared at Monk Tianxin in shock and anger, and said, "As long as you let me go, I will give you the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array, and also hand over all my accumulated knowledge over the years. The people who came with me have already gone to your Kaiyuan demonic sect, so your treasure is no longer yours. It now belongs to my Heaven and Earth Bank," Monk Tianxin explained. Boom, boom, boom. The domain was still trembling, and everything within a radius of 100 miles was confined to the domain of Monk Tianxin. In this field, he can control everything. You fake bald monk. You all say you don't kill, but you've killed someone. You've broken your vows, and Buddha will punish you. Tian Yuan cursed angrily. Kneel down. Monk Tianxin shouted softly. Thump. Without hesitation, Tian Yuan knelt down on the ground, his knees making a loud thud as he was in excruciating pain. His face was contorted with pain, and he looked at Monk Tianxin with extreme resentment and hatred. "Don't look at me like that. You broke the contract first. If you can break the contract yourself, then don't blame me for killing you," Monk Tianxin said calmly. "You're going to kill me just because I broke the contract." Tian Yuan stared at Monk Tianxin in disbelief. "It's just a broken contract. If I break it, I break it. Why would you kill me over something like that?" Tian Yuan thought Monk Tianxin had gone mad. "That's right, it's because you broke the contract that I will kill you. No matter how resentful, dissatisfied, or unhappy you are, it's useless," Monk Tianxin said coldly. "No one can break the contract of my Heaven and Earth Bank, whether you are a mortal or a celestial king in the heavens. Anyone who breaks it will be punished." Monk Tianxin stretched out his white palm, which was more delicate, whiter, and longer than a woman's hand. Just a gentle press. It was pressed down on Tian Yuan's head, just like the 9-in white bone claw. Puff. The surging true energy, like a demon-subduing pestle, slammed heavily into Tian Yuan's sea of consciousness. Tian Yuan collapsed, his eyes filled with resentment. His bones were broken inch by inch, and he died in extreme pain, unable to utter a sound. "Well." Monk Tianxin sighed, withdrew his domain, extracted the array diagram of the world-class teleportation array from Tian Yuan's corpse, and took a step out, leaving this place. The sky is vast and blue. The wilderness stretches out, the wind blows the grass low, revealing cattle and sheep. There was a person next to the cattle and sheep. His soul has returned to heaven and earth. Having obtained the diagram of the world-class teleportation array, Monk Tianxin left without lingering. As he walked, he observed and studied how this world-class teleportation array was constructed. Obtaining the array diagram is only the first step, finding materials is the second step, and construction is the third step. After studying it for a while, Monk Tianxin admitted that world-class teleportation arrays were indeed complex, with millions of variations in a single array diagram. If one was not careful, all previous efforts would be wasted. Gabriel arrived shortly afterward. He caught up empty-handed. "Have you gotten everything?" Monk Tianxin asked. "I got it. I used the immortal artifact sword as a storage space and ransacked the entire Kaiyuan demon sect's treasury," Gabriel said. "Take a look." Monk Tianxin handed the array diagram to Gabriel. Gabriel did not refuse and looked at it carefully. After looking at it, he said, "As expected, Tian Yuan has been collecting materials all these years, trying to build a world-class teleportation array. 99% of the materials in here are there. What is the remaining 1% that is missing?" Monk Tianxin asked the crucial question. Gabriel said, "There are 3 things." "Which 3? Monk Tianxin asked Gabriel. "World coordinates, star map, boundary-breaking blade." Gabriel said in a deep voice. Monk Tianxin frowned. He had never heard of any of these 3 things. "It doesn't matter if we don't know. We can go back and ask Long Mishu. Of these 3 things, I only know the world coordinates and the star map. I don't know what the blade of the boundary is either," Gabriel said, shaking his head. "Then let's hurry back," Monk Tianxin said urgently. Inside the Heaven and Earth Bank, Xiandao and Shao Qi frowned upon seeing this. I've seen world coordinates and star charts in books, but I haven't seen them in the Blade of the Boundary, Xiandao asked Shao Qi. The Blade of Boundary Breaking, as the name suggests, can tear apart a world. It is a very powerful and terrifying magic weapon, and it is also a magic weapon of the demonic sect. Shao Qi thought carefully and explained in detail. Where can I find it? Xiandao asked. I don't know. Anyway, it's not in the Greatly Land, and it's not in the desolate ancient land. Our Heaven and Earth Bank can't get in, so we don't know for now, Shao Qi said, shaking his head. I hope so. Only by collecting all 3 items can we build a world-class teleportation array. Xiandao sighed softly. Now, he and Shao Qi spend their days idly in the Tiandi money exchange, waiting for customers to arrive. No customers are watching Tianxin Monk and the others from across the world. As for the Greatly Earth, Xiandao could easily sweep through it, but he felt no sense of accomplishment whatsoever. Master, we have a guest. Shao Qi's expression shifted as she reminded him. Xiandao perked up and said, Finally, we have guests. This time, the selection process for the 100 pocket watches is quite rigorous. Shao Qi smiled slightly and said, The selection process will be very strict in the future. Ordinary people will not be qualified to enter the Heaven and Earth Bank. Xiandao nodded. Ordinary people indeed are not qualified to be traded. Could it be someone I know again this time? Xiandao joked. Shao Qi smiled and said, This time, the guest is new. I don't know him, and neither does the host. Chapter 88 The Body of Light and Darkness. The battlefield between heaven and earth sees countless people enter, leave, and die every day. Here, human life is worthless. The ground is littered with corpses and treasures. Therefore, many people come here seeking opportunities, breakthroughs, and immortality. But it is precisely they who become opportunities for others, chances for others to break through, and corpses on others' path to immortality. The old man left sadly, and the new man came in excitedly, and the cycle repeated itself. The allure of the battlefield lies here. Shirakawa used to think that way too, but now he doesn't. Bai Tian, who entered the battlefield of heaven and earth with his elders, was always obedient. He never snatched treasures and handed over any cultivation techniques he had. He trusted his master, senior brothers, and senior sisters. Bai Tiantong's first 15 years were extremely difficult. During his childhood, a plague struck his hometown, leaving corpses everywhere and wiping out his entire family. He barely survived by eating tree roots. He was then discovered to have extraordinary talent and successfully became an apprentice of the Eternal Immortal Sect. He was taken in by an old man in the Eternal Immortal Sect. He had 3 senior sisters and 4 senior brothers, and everyone treated him very well, which gradually made up for the bitterness of the first half of Bai Tiantong's life. Therefore, Bai Tiantong was willing to give everything he received to his master, senior sister, and senior brother. He was genuinely willing. A year after becoming an apprentice, his master took his senior brothers and sisters and him into the battlefield of heaven and earth, saying that they were going to break through. White Paradise followed them in. Unexpectedly, his master's breakthrough required his talent. Bai Tiantong never imagined that a kind master would reveal such a sinister and ferocious face. A beautiful and noble senior sister actually had intimate contact with the master right in front of him. A once upright and honest senior brother was now fawning over his subordinates like a dog wagging its tail. Bai Tiantong, whose worldview had been shattered, was tied up by his master. Your talent is truly 1 in a million. It's a perfect blend of holiness and darkness, these 2 different elements intertwined. However, you've been suppressing the dark side and only cultivating the laws of light. Even so, you've made rapid progress, surpassing our decades of effort in just 1 year. Giving you this talent is a complete waste. The master stared at Bai Tiantong with longing, wishing he could devour him whole. Bai Tiantong looked at his master, his senior sister, and his senior brother in despair. After giving his whole heart, this is the outcome he received. Bai Tiantang, who possessed no magical treasures, had his head severed by his master's sharp blade, and his mixed black and white talent was dug out from the depths of his soul. The master laughed heartily, feeling extremely pleased, and then turned and left. Senior sister glanced at Bai Tiantang with utter disdain, then called out "Master" in a charming voice and chased after him. The senior brother abandoned Bai Tiantang, greedily glanced at the senior sister's body, and fawned over her before chasing after her. The wind and snow were very cold. As Bai Tiantang lay dying, he looked at the vast white world, his eyes filled with endless death. His talent was unearthed, and in an extremely brutal way, his days are numbered. White heaven, with most of his body on the verge of death. If there is an afterlife, I will walk alone in this vast world. 16-year-old Bai Tiantang reminisced about the days when he traveled alone through plague-ridden regions. The plague was fierce and claimed the lives of millions. But the human heart is more terrifying than the plague. Bai Tiantang saw through it all. He was just stupid, longing for family affection, and failed to notice these subtle details. On his deathbed, a blood-red pocket watch appeared out of thin air and slowly fell into White Paradise's hand. It seemed as if a voice was ringing in his ear. "Crush it and you'll be brand new." Before White Heaven's eyes was a sea of blood, and within that blood, he saw an endlessly majestic palace. In front of the palace, there were two figures, a man and a woman. The man was dignified and imposing, while the woman had a graceful figure. Unfortunately, the face was not clearly visible. "I have nothing left, so I don't care about losing anything now," Bai Tiantang said with a mocking smile. With his last ounce of strength, he crushed the blood-red pocket watch. Heaven and Earth Bank. Inside the trading hall, Xiandao, wearing a dark gold mask, asked, "Information about the person who came?" "Xiao Qi will be the first to know this information, and then she will tell Xiandao." Among the previous owners, some had taken away Xiao Qi's ability. People with a strong desire for control didn't like Xiao Qi interfering. Xiandao, however, did not care about these things and still let Xiao Qi manage these abilities. White Heaven, an orphan from the desolate land, possesses no magical treasures or wealth. A dying man will die in a minute if he doesn't crush his pocket watch. Also, his talent was poached. Xiaoqi reported everything. Xiandao raised an eyebrow and said, "According to you, he's worthless, so how did he get in?" Without treasures, without wealth, a dying man has even had his talents stolen away. What's so special about trading someone like that? Xiaoqi was also stunned. It seemed there was no good deal to be made. But the next second, she closed her eyes and carefully searched for the good points of White Paradise. "Master, this White Heaven is an extremely rare light and darkness body." Xiao Qi exclaimed in shock. "What?" Xiandao looked at Xiao Qi in surprise. "The body of light and darkness." Xiandao had also seen such introductions in various books. Light and darkness are eternal enemies, like two extremes that cannot coexist. But nothing in this world is ever absolute. Just like the prophetic talent that Xiandao obtained, which has long since disappeared into the river of history, it has also appeared in this era. Therefore, the light and darkness entities have appeared several times in history. Every single one of them was an extremely skilled master, a pinnacle figure, and a symbol of invincibility. By the way, isn't the fallen angel Lucifer a being of the light and darkness? Xiandao suddenly remembered. This blood-red pocket watch was a sign that he had found someone to succeed the fallen angel Lucifer. The fallen angel Lucifer was transformed into a being of light and darkness after birth, Xiaoqi said, shaking her head. Doesn't that mean that this White Heaven is even more suitable to become a fallen angel than the original Lucifer? Xiandao asked in surprise. That should be it. A natural body of light and darkness, combined with Lucifer's original divine essence, is the perfect combination of two fallen angels. Xiao Qi clapped her hands excitedly. Xiandao's eyes lit up. A perfect fallen angel stirred his soul. Quickly, Please come in, Li Xiandao said impatiently. Xiao Qi and Li Xiandao waited together. A figure suddenly appeared in the trading hall, covered in blood, with a youthful face, very young but tall, and refined. But now his breath was very weak, his face was pale, and he was swaying as if he was about to faint at any moment. His mental state is extremely poor. Seeing this, Li Xiandao knew this was bad. He couldn't bear to see such a promising talent die in front of him. He grabbed the contract and leaned closer, saying, "Young man, sign this, and I'll save you right away." Chapter 89 The Third Angel. In his dazed state, Bai Tiantang heard Li Xiandao's words, looked at the contract, and without picking up a pen, directly used the blood on his hand to imprint it onto the contract. After it was printed on, White Paradise fell into a coma. Li Xiandao looked at the bloody handprint on the contract and asked, "Does this count?" Xiao Qi nodded and said, "Yes, he printed it on his own initiative. We didn't force him." "That's good. Go and bring me the original divine essence of the fallen angel. I will heal him," Li Xiandao instructed. Xiao Qi nodded, put away the contract, and immediately went to retrieve the primal godhood. Li Xiandao lifted Bai Tiantang and placed him on the table. Seeing that he was covered in blood, he frowned. This young man is also in a bad situation. His talent was stolen by someone else. When Li Xiandao takes away other people's talents, it's like a dream, without any pain or discomfort. But Bai Tiantang was in excruciating pain, wishing he could kill himself. However, you have also benefited from misfortune. What's most important to you is this body. It doesn't matter if you lose your talent, as long as you still have your body, Li Xiandao murmured. The talent of the light and dark body is extremely demanding, requiring a specific body to accommodate it. Shirakomi's body is a perfect vessel. His master took away his talent. If he wanted to use it on himself, it would be suicide. The talent of the light and dark body will destroy his master. Xiao Qi returned quickly, holding a primitive divine essence in her hand, its black and white colors intertwined and fused together like a Bagua diagram. "Come, let me help you fuse your talents." Li Xiandao began to integrate the primordial divine essence into Bai Tiantong's body. Snort. Bai Tiantang screamed unconsciously. His head had been cut open before, and now it was being manipulated by Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao also felt sorry for this child, who was only 16 years old and had suffered so much. "You seal his sensory abilities, and I will complete the fusion as quickly as possible," Li Xiandao said in a deep voice. Xiao Qi walked over and sealed off Bai Tiantong's sensory abilities, keeping all the pain out. Seeing this, Li Xiandao quickly began the fusion process. White Paradise slowly opened its eyes and saw a new world. An elegant room, clean blankets, and a warm bed. And a head that doesn't hurt. White Heaven seemed to be in a dream, reaching out to stroke his head. "It doesn't hurt anymore. The excruciating pain I felt earlier seemed unreal, as if it had never existed. But Whitehaven remembers that it was real, authentic. His talent was taken away by his master. In his dying moments, Whitehaven entered a mysterious place and seemed to sign some kind of contract. As Bai Tiantang slowly rose, everything suddenly went black, and he collapsed straight down. He fell into boundless darkness, and in this darkness, a majestic figure appeared. It has 12 pairs of wings on its back, all of which are black and white, making it quite terrifying. But in the eyes of the White Heaven, this is the most beautiful color in the world. "Who are you?" White Paradise asked. "I am you," said the 12-winged angel. "Then who am I?" Bai Tiantang asked, frowning. "You are Lucifer, you are a fallen angel, you are a member of the divine race, and you are also the demon king of hell. You are me, and I am you." The 12-winged angel slowly walked over. White Paradise was stunned. "Now we are one." The body of the 12-winged angel and the body of the White Heaven merged together. Boom. In White Paradise's memory, there appeared many memories. He clearly hadn't experienced it, but it looked very familiar. Lucifer, the angel of the gods, later became the fallen angel Lucifer, and in the subsequent Great War of the Ages, he died and perished. The clear memories made it clear to White Heaven that he had merged with Lucifer. From now on, he will be Lucifer. There is no White Heaven, only Lucifer, Lucifer said in a low voice. Li Xiandao pushed open the door and walked in with Shao Qi. How's the fusion going? Li Xiandao asked, looking at Lucifer, whose body was enveloped in black and white energy. He asked, Master. Lucifer dispersed his black and white aura, walked to Li Xiandao, and knelt down respectfully. Would you like to take a look at the contract you signed? Li Xiandao asked. No need. Lucifer will be the master's sharpest sword in the future, and wherever his blade points, he will be invincible. Lucifer shook his head and said, That's good. You should work on your fusion. Lucifer's power is very strong. After all, he absorbed the power of both angels and demons. You yourself are a being of light and darkness. Once the fusion is perfect, you will surpass that bold guy, Li Xiandao reminded him. Lucifer coldly replied, Your subordinate will do his best. Lucifer didn't ask who the bald man was. He had experienced betrayal and was now extremely cold-hearted. Only Li Xiandao could make him obey. Get some rest. Take revenge yourself. I won't stop you, and I won't give you any tasks for the time being, Li Xiandao said with satisfaction. This Lucifer has immense potential. He's still in the fusion stage, but his strength is already comparable to that of the heavenly light. Tian Guangming will become the weakest person under Li Xiandao's command. In the desolate land, Monk Tianxin and Gabriel were on their way back. Having obtained the diagram of the world-class teleportation array, they didn't want to linger for a moment and wanted to go back to complete the remaining 3 materials. They came quickly and left quickly. As for the Great Xia dynasty, can it retain the 2 great sages who are determined to leave? Although their experts rushed to the Great River Mountains, Monk Tianxin and Gabriel had already left. The place is deserted. The Great Xia dynasty could only issue an arrest warrant. In reality, they didn't even know what Tianxin monk and Gabriel looked like. They only knew that one of the attackers was a very powerful monk, who was suspected to have the strength of a great sage at the 4th or 5th level. This information only began to spread after Monk Tianxin and Gabriel returned to Shangjing. It was completely useless to Monk Tianxin. At Long Baichuan's mansion, a group of people gathered again. For a total of 6 days, everyone stayed quietly in the mansion, waiting for good news. We've obtained the blueprint for a world-class teleportation array, Monk Tianxin announced, revealing the first piece of good news. Long Mishu immediately smiled. This is wonderful. I also ransacked the Kaiyuan demonic sect's treasury and obtained a lot of materials and items. Now we only need 3 things to build a world-class teleportation array. Gabriel brought the second piece of good news. Which 3? Long Mishu asked impatiently. World coordinates, star map, blade that breaks boundaries, said Monk Tianxin. He knew nothing about any of these 3 things. The monk Tianxin had spent his entire life in the Greatly Earth and had never left it. This was the first time he had ever been outside, so he had no idea that these 3 things existed. I know the purpose of world coordinates and star charts, as the names suggest, but I don't know if they exist in the ancient wasteland, Gabriel said. What about the blade of boundaries? Everyone asked in unison. Chapter 90. The blade that breaks boundaries. Gabriel shook his head and said, I don't know. Tian Guangming asked in surprise. You're a god, how could you not know? Although I am a god from the previous era. An entire era has passed, and countless new things and magical artifacts have been born. Isn't it normal that you don't recognize them? Gabriel retorted. After thinking about it carefully, Tian Guangming realized that it made sense. All right, since no one knows, I'll go ask my best friend. Maybe she knows, Long Mishu said, standing up. We have obtained the array diagram of a world-class teleportation array, as well as the materials and treasures accumulated by the Kaiyuan demonic sect. We only need 3 more things to summon our master. This is a great improvement, so don't worry, Monk Tianxin said with a smile. Keep an eye on Long Baichuan for me. I'm going out to ask around. Long Mishu got up and left. Tian Guangming and Wu Xian'er immediately followed. One of them was a bodyguard, and the other was a maid. They were to stay by Long Mishu's side to ensure his safety. Shengjing, a vast place, is bustling with people and vehicles. It was still that magnificent pavilion, and the spirited Sister Min was still there. Long Mishu came in alone to see her. Tian Guangming was chatting with people outside, while Wu Xian'er stood indifferently to the side. Good sister, tell your older sister, did you do the things that happened at the Kaiyuan demonic sect? Sister Min grabbed Long Mishu and whispered as she got close to him. Sister knows. Long Mishu asked in surprise. Monk Tianxin and Gabriel had only just returned to Shengjing. My sister's intelligence is far more powerful than you imagine, otherwise I wouldn't dare to sell information from all sides here, Sister Min said proudly. It was done by my little sister's people, Long Mishu admitted without hesitation. This can be seen as a way of showing off his muscles. Sister Min looked at Long Mishu in surprise. The Kaiyuan demonic sect has a great sage at the 3rd level. Although he's not a top expert, he's still first-rate. How did you, who used to be all alone, end up with such a powerful subordinate? Long Mi smiled but remained silent, took a sip of tea, and made no attempt to explain. Mystery is what instills fear. Min said irritably, You're hiding this from your older sister too? Long Mishu immediately flattered. Oh, my dear sister, I didn't mean to hide it, but there are some things that are not the right time to say now. When will the time come? Sister Min asked, not pressing Long Mishu. Probably after I build the world-class teleportation array, Long Mishu said after thinking for a moment. You're so eager to build a world-class teleportation array. Could it be that you've recruited experts from other worlds? Sister Min was very clever and immediately guessed something. Long Mi smiled but remained silent. All right, I won't press you anymore, but you've always been a smart girl, and you always have your own opinions. This time, I want to see what kind of trouble you can cause, Sister Min said irritably. Good sister, just wait and see, but before that, I still need your help with something, Long Mishu said ingratiatingly. What's wrong? Sister Min asked. Do you know about world coordinates, star map, and the blade of boundary break? Long Mishu asked. Sister Min's expression was calm as she thought carefully, and she said, Are these all things needed to build a world-class teleportation array? Long Mishu nodded and said, We have everything else, but we don't have these 3 things. If you know, please tell me. No matter what, no matter who it's in, I'm determined to get it, Long Mishu added, his tone firm and his attitude resolute. It can be said that she is only missing these 3 things to realize her dream of becoming empress. Long Mishu was willing to risk his life to get it. Sister Min nodded, understanding Long Mishu's determination, and said, I know where these 3 things are, but it will be a bit difficult for you to collect them all. It's all right, dear sister, just tell me, and I'll have a way. Long Mishu excitedly hugged Sister Min and couldn't help but kiss her. Sister Min slapped Long Mishu in an annoyed tone and said disdainfully, You always know how to take advantage of me. Long Mishu chuckled, hugging his dear sister tightly, reluctant to let go. The world coordinates are in Shengjing, in your brother's hands, Sister Min said, looking at Long Mishu. Long Mishu frowned and guessed. The first prince. Yes, it's in the hands of the first prince. 3 years ago, a general from the northern desert obtained a world coordinate. He didn't need it himself, so he gave it to the first prince, who then treasured it in his own treasury, Sister Min nodded. How did it end up in his hands? Long Mishu frowned. The first prince had just plotted against her, and she had quite a few experts under her command, so obtaining the world coordinates would be difficult. This might just be fate. You were destined to meet the crown prince eventually, Sister Min said helplessly. What about the starry sky guiding map? Long Mishu asked. It's inside the Eternal Immortal Gate, Sister Min said. The Eternal Immortal Sect, one of the 10 great righteous sections. Long Mishu's little face was wrinkled, and his mouth tasted a little bitter. This one is even more formidable than the eldest prince. Now you know how difficult it is, right? Sister Min said with heartache as she looked at Long Mishu. Good sister, please continue. I want to know where the blade of the boundary is. Long Mishu asked. Beyond the Great Wall at Long Men, there are 7 demonic blades. The blood-melting blade, the bloodthirsty demon blade, the demon-slaying blade, the slaughtering blade, the soul-slaying blade, the annihilation blade, and the soul-severing blade. The 7 demonic blades are all top-tier Dao artifacts, wielded by sages and possessed by various sections. Once all 7 demonic blades are collected, they can be combined into a celestial artifact, the Blade of Boundary Break. Sister Min explained in detail. Long Mishu's vision went black. It turned out to be a celestial artifact, and the fragments were separated and controlled by various forces in the Dragon Gate beyond the Great Wall. This is even more difficult than facing the first prince alone, or facing the eternal immortal sect alone. After all, they had to challenge the various forces beyond the Great Wall and obtain the 7 demonic blades. If you ask me, you should give up. Even if you have a saint at the peak under your command, you are no match for these forces, Sister Min advised. Not to mention the distant ones, the eternal immortal sect has several peak saints, who are all hidden old immortals. There is a saint at the peak in the Crown Prince's residence, who is in charge of protecting his safety. The Dragon Gate beyond the Great Wall is also known as the 7 Saints soaring to the heavens. 7 invincible saints support the Dragon Gate. How do you plan to take away the 7 demonic blades? Sister Min asked Long Mishu in return. Long Mishu was silent for a moment, then released his Sister Min, smiled gently, and said firmly, Sister, you know me. I won't turn back until I hit a wall, and I won't give up until I reach the Yellow River. Even if it's difficult, I'm not afraid. I must achieve my goal. Sister Min couldn't help but say, your goal is too difficult. You'll be condemned by everyone and despised by all. Long Mishu narrowed his eyes and said, would someone standing atop a mountain care about the ants pointing and whispering below? Without a bit of courage, I wouldn't dare to dream this dream. Good sister, I will definitely succeed. Just wait for my good news. Long Mishu smiled gently. Only in front of this good sister could she smile happily.